All right, so now we're going to be looking at your actual budget. And we are going to be using the 50-30-20 rule. This video here tells you a little bit more information about it, but I am going to kind of get you started on your thinking. So this is a type of budget that you can use to figure out if you're prioritizing your money in a responsible way. And then that kind of ensures that you're going to have financial success, okay? There are many other ways that you can set up a budget. This is just one of those ways, all right? Basically, here's what's going to happen. You've got 3 different categories. Here's what they look like. You have your needs category. 50% of your net monthly income goes to that category. It includes things like housing, electricity, water, groceries, and these other things down here. 30% of your monthly income should be going to your wants, things like your phone, internet, entertainment, hobbies. Okay? Notice phone and internet is on your wants. You should be thinking of your needs as things that you absolutely can't live without. Okay? If you had to, you could live without your phone and internet. Even though you may not want to, you could, right? But you can't live without water or food. You can live without housing, but that's not something that you probably would like to do, right? So the last category is you would be spending 20% of your money going towards your savings and any extra debt payments. When I say extra debt payments, what that means is you may have let's say, a mortgage for your home. You have a minimum amount that you have to pay every month for you to be paying for it on time. Okay. A lot of people choose to pay extra on like a mortgage or a car loan or a credit card amount so that that debt goes away faster, right? So once you pay off a car, you don't have to include it in your needs anymore. As long as you have a car and you've paid for it, that's not something that goes in this category, right? It's gone, right? So some people choose to make extra payments towards those debts so that they will have them paid for early. Now, this slide kind of shows you how are you going to figure out how much goes into each category, right? You also need to make sure that you're figuring out how much is going to go into those categories for your budget. And there's a couple other things to be thinking about here, okay? In your needs category, I am telling you that you have to include these amounts there, okay? I've done some research and figured out, okay, for health insurance, the average amount is $200 a month for a single person, and all of your budget is going to be created around just you, okay? A minimum payment for a credit card, we're going to say everybody's going to have a credit card and it's going to be $50 a month, minimum payment. Okay. For transportation, you have to include at least $50 because that's how much 1 month of the TARC costs. You may decide that you don't want to ride the TARC, you'd rather have your own vehicle. And if that's the case, you're going to have to do some research and figure out how much could you pay for your car, and we'll get into more of that here in a minute. Everyone also has to pay a minimum of $100 per month for your groceries. That's for your food that you're going to buy at the grocery to prepare for yourself. Electricity, you have to pay at least $75 a month, and water. For have water coming into your home, you're going to pay $50 a month on that as well. Okay, so you have to have those in your budget. If you include phone and internet into your wants, this is the amounts you're going to use. Okay, here are some things to consider. All of your budgets are based on a single person. You are going to probably want to look at different housing options in the area that you want to live in here in Louisville. All right. For instance, I was looking up some apartments earlier, and I did find this apartment, and it was a studio, but it was only 375 square feet. So, you might want to look into different apartments that are available. I just went to thisapartments.com and typed in Louisville, and then it started giving me, I had an amount that I wanted to pay. let's see, I ended up being able to bump it up a little bit. So you can literally type in on this apartments.com how much you want to spend. It's including the area here in Louisville. And you can kind of check out where would you want to live, and you can check out how much is it for those different areas, right? You can even sort how, like I did, low to high rent, right? So you can kind of check it out and see, is it someplace that you'd like to live? Do you like, the different options for that place? All right. Now, the other thing you want to think about is, what type of transportation do you want? Okay. These are things you are going to look at after you've kind of looked at how much do you have left to spend on these things, right? So here's an example. I've been making my budget out on a Google Sheet. And what I've done here is I looked at, and actually I'm going to look at a different sheet. I'm going to look at this one. So what I did is, here was my amounts. So you can see how I figured these out, right? Remember the 50, 30, 20? I found 50% of my monthly net income that I had already figured out earlier in the project. I knew that that was this amount. 30% of my monthly income was this, so that's going to my wants, 20% for my savings, okay? And what I did here in Sheets is I started listing out things that I needed for my needs, and housing is one. Notice I already typed in the amounts for the electricity, water, groceries, my health insurance, and my credit card. I knew that I had to pay those, right? Because those are mandatory things that I'm expecting you to make. Now, here's what's going to happen. Remember, I know I only have this much to do. So what I actually am going to do here is I'm going to put in some functions, which you might consider doing if you use a Google Sheets. A function is basically, I want it to calculate a sum. And a sum simply means it's going to add up all of these numbers and tell me how much are all of these things total. And the reason I didn't include this, because that's my target amount, right? This is what I'm shooting for, that 50% of my monthly budget. So I know that as of right now, with all the mandatory items, I've already spent $475 of this amount. Okay. And so I know that that's going to leave me with, let's see, so I have about $724 left to spend for both my housing and my transportation. Okay. So when I start thinking about where I'm going to live, or what kind of car or transportation that I want, I've got to know how much I have left to spend on it, right? Now, I know I'm going to get an apartment because I don't think that with that amount, I'm not ready to buy anything. I want to be a little more financially stable. So, you know, my apartment choices here, well, I liked this one area or this one place, but let's see here. Yeah, I liked this area, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on this apartment and look at what do they have to offer here. All right, so here's my pricing. That's what I want to look at. What can I get? Oh, look, you can even get furnished apartments. Interesting. So these are studios. I'm looking at square footage because I know I want at least a one bedroom apartment. Okay. Let's see. And I know that this is one bedroom, one bathroom, and it's 855 square feet. So all right, I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and choose one of these. I'll go ahead and use the 565 since that's the amount. So $565 is going to be my monthly rent. So let's see here. How much do I have left? I've now spent this. That's given me about $199. Let's see, about $150, $160 for a car. So let's go back to my budget, because that's how I decide what kind of car, right? I decide what can I afford. So we're going to assume that we don't have any savings for this setup since we haven't worked yet. So what I'm going to be doing, notice here, my wants funds, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to use some of your wants funds to cover some of the costs from your needs if you're finding it difficult to pay for all of them. Okay. So when I go back to my budget here, I've already set up some wants, and actually I need to see how much do I have I paid for it. So again, I'm going to use this to add up all of these boxes here to see how much is all of that together. So I'm going to go to Insert, Function, and Sum, because Sum adds up this column. All right, and I'm actually going to make sure I start right above the total line and go all the way up to the first one that I want it to add up, because if I add on some things here, it's going to be included when I add them on. So I know right now I've spent $385 out of my total of 719 that I can spend. So that tells me I've already figured out that I want phone and internet. I want like a monthly clothing allowance. I've included entertainment. So that would be for things that you would do for fun, right? Go to the zoo, go to the movies, go out. Well, eating out is another thing. So if I wanted to go out to eat, I'm already allotting $100 a month for that, right? And I also want a pet. So that's a want. So I can go ahead and include that. And I'm budgeting about $30 a month for food and vet bills, because a responsible pet owner would take them to the vet when they need it and to get shots and things like that. So I've actually got about $300 or about $400 extra that I can use from here to go towards some things that I want over here, right? So, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go ahead and add $150 for housing. All right. So I'm going to add on to housing, and I'm going to put another $200 there. No, 150. And then I'm going to, let's see, so that's $500. So 530. So that means I've got what? So I'm going to add on to my car too, because I want to add on and get a better car than $150 a month. So what do I have left? Let's say 200 more, a little bit less. So 180 more. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to target it so that this amount is as close to that as I can get it. Okay, so that's pretty good, 715. So I know from here, what did I have left for my car? So let's see, if I have 1,199.50 minus the 1,040 that I've spent. So I had 159.50 left, but now I'm going to add on 180 to that amount. So I actually know I'm going to be looking for, I'm just going to write this for my own notes, a $339 or $50 for a car. Ooh, wait, there's a problem with this. If I get a car, I also have to pay for gas and car insurance, right? So that means I'm going to not be able to spend that much on my car, doesn't it? So you've got to think about things like this, right? If you get a car, you've got to add gas, all right? And car insurance. So let's say we'll add that gas and insurance, okay? So these are things you're going to have to add on. So let's say I end up being able to spend for transportation, I can spend $250 a month on a car. Whoops. So I had 150 here, which is pretty close. But over here, I'm going to have to adjust this. Let's see, that's going to be closer to 100. And my gas and insurance is going to be about $80 a month. And now I'm looking at this a little bit better. Okay. So I'm knowing that now I'm not going for that. I'm going for a $250 car. And let's take a look at our budget here. Things to consider. If you're going to buy a car, you're going to have to figure out where you're going to get it from, right? And you have to figure out how much can you afford per month, or how much is the car going to cost, right? And get to your targeted payments. So to do that, you're going to use this link, and it's going to take you to a car loan calculator. And right now, I know a $25,000 car costs about $450 a month. So I have to pay less than that, right? We're going to keep our interest rate and loan period the same here. We're just going to keep that. And I have to basically get down to $250. I'm just going to change this amount until I get there. A $10,000 cost of a car is $180. Let's try 15. Okay, so 15,000 is too much. So I'm going to have to go to, let's try 12. Well, 14. All right, there we go. So I know I can't pay more than $14,000 for my car. All right. So that's going to help me when I go to looking for that car. So I need a $14,000 car. I even gave you a link here that takes you to cars. I know that it's probably going to be used for that amount in Louisville. Okay. So basically from here, I can start my search for my $14,000 car. The cool thing is on this, you can even put an amount down here, right? So you can figure out, I know I'm looking for 14. So, okay, it doesn't have 14. So maybe I look at $15,000 cars and I can adjust from there. And I can pick the one I want from this list, right? And then know how much my car payment's going to be from there. All right. So that kind of helps you with figuring out your car budget, and kind of using what you had already budgeted, like on here, to figure that amount out. Now that I've figured out my budget and I have it all planned out, there are some things that I want to do to stylize it or make it more creative. I bolded some things, right? I also noticed that, like here, this is cutting off some of the words. So I can make my columns bigger by clicking on this part here and pulling it over. And I want to make sure that it's all fitting, right? The other thing that I don't know, there's some different things you can do to make these look nicer. Sheets and other spreadsheet apps like Excel give you the opportunity to use some themes. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm highlighting what I want it to go towards, and I'm going to go ahead and format. And I'm going to format and enter a theme. So you can kind of look, these are what different things that they might look like. The themes, you can choose one. Okay. And you can even customize some of the things, right? So you can customize the color, the text, the font, and different accents. So I've got a theme chosen, but there's also a cool thing. I'm going to add in alternating colors. And here's what this is going to do. I can make my header or that top line a color, and then I can shade or alternate. I'm going to do green for money. My different rows so that it looks like this. And I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. So I've got my budget stylized. Now I actually need to add it into my presentation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start and I'm just going to copy what I want to go. So I'm going to do each of these on a different slide. You can choose however you want to do it. So I've got that. I'm going to add it to this section here. All right. And so I'm just going to paste. Now here, you're going to get this question. Do you want to link it to the spreadsheet? And that basically means if you make changes on your spreadsheet, it will automatically change in your Google slide as well. I am going to keep it linked just in case I make some some changes. So you can see how little it is. So let's see, I'm going to put it down here. You know what? I think I will put them all on the same sheet. It looks like they're going to fit. Okay. And I'm basically just going to go through and do that for each section. So now I'm going to copy these and paste it. Yep, link. I'm going to move that over, and I want to line it up with the other one so it looks a little nicer. Okay. And next, whoops. All right. Notice on my budget, for all of them, I'm showing how much money is available for that category. I'm showing how much went to each category or each little item in that category. And then I'm also showing how much I ended up spending. So this is how much was available. This is how much of it I spent. And I'm doing that for all of them. That's the way a good budget works. You spend all of the money in each of them, right? Remember, you're putting money away in savings. I'm noticing this is a little off. Let's move this over. Okay, so now I've got my budget posted, and I think I'm done with my presentation. I did realize I also showed up here, I had already entered this. I showed how I got the money amount for every category. It's very important you include that with how you got there, what the work was.